Hello everyone, welcome to the second last part of this painting process. This second video is a bit longer, but I sped it up a bit, so please bear with me and I apologize for eventual headaches. You're bound to have them when you watch me flip the canvas and zoom in and out at an abnormal speed. So I'm adding colors now. I don't have a real process to do this, I kind of always follow my instincts, which is best sometimes, and here I use the color lookup tool. Photoshop kindly gave us these presets, and thank you Adobe, because I use them a lot, and you can find it under Image, Adjustments and Color Lookup. I picked a blue core filter and lowered opacity because I don't want too much saturation just yet. And to add colors I always build up from dark to light, and I usually go for soft light or hard light layer mode. And you see these very dark browns on fairer skin. They are dark but neutral, and that's a perfect base for me to build up colors from here. And without a grayscale base I would do the same, especially for the skin. I said I use the soft light and hard light because the multiply layer or even the overlay layer would be too much, and I know people physically suffer when using them because they say these modes, especially the multiply, make the image look muddy. And the truth is that even with those two layers you will be able to make a great piece if you have the patience to build up colors and switch from mode to mode. My trick is to flatten everything and build up again and again. As I said before, I'm not one of those artists who keep hundreds of layers. I would go mad, so I work on one and just add others as I need them. Again, there are no rules for this, I just do what I'm comfortable with, but I think of those cringe-worthy moments when someone says that no, you can't use this layer mode like this, referring to the multiply layer mostly. And I saw this. It's true, I saw this in forums and Facebook groups, and I'm like, oh come on, that's not true. This is Photoshop, and I mean, we must experiment with it. And Facebook groups can be evil. They are helpful, I'm sure. I'm an active user, not of Facebook per se, but of groups. But god, I see stuff there in the comments that I seriously sometimes I want to unsee it. Anyway, I said I'm working on one layer, but I'm sure you noticed I had three. One is the background layer, which I keep, I don't know why. One is the main layer and one is the sketch. About the sketch, I do keep it, but at some point I flatten it with the rest of the layers, because I always like to keep certain rough details of the sketch in the painting. What I don't like, I just paint over it. I also said I always build up from dark to light, but that's not entirely true. I do usually go from dark to light unless I'm working on a light on light kind of illustration, which is something I avoid, and I dare you to take a look into my gallery and find a warm illustration. And what can I say, I like my dark arts. But yes, I love painting dark scenes, so I can play with dramatic lighting, and you know I love dramatic lighting. But I also know that it's getting boring, so I'm trying to step out of my comfort zone, and we'll see in the future if I'll be able to update my color palette. Probably not. You see me jumping around a lot throughout the video, from painted skin to fabric to the background. That's because I prefer to not stay on one single detail, but to jump to something else, then go back and see if I can improve things. And I also try my best to pay equal attention to the characters. I'm not one of those artists who finish one and then start the other. You see me checking on the grayscale version a lot, and what I mean is that I have to make sure I'm not messing up my values. By adding colors I want for the values to remain as close as possible to those of the grayscale version. And to check values I just press Ctrl Y. Values are super important. In my very personal opinion they come just after the composition. And third is lighting, which is strictly connected to values. I don't know how much time I actually spend on reasons, robes, probably more than favors. I struggle to balance light and shadows. If favor is a light on dark kind of character. Reese is a dark on dark character, and I had this idea of adding wings made of stars to kind of break this oppressive darkness around him, but then I changed my mind, mostly because I didn't want to mess up the composition. Those snakes look scary. I love drawing snakes, maybe because I'm a Slytherin at heart. I'm not saying it because it's cool, but seriously, I love green and silver. I love snakes, but I wouldn't keep one as a pet. Unfortunately, these are fake snakes, so I don't have the chance to add scales and glowing effects. There's one fan art of Tom Riddle I painted in the past where I was like in heaven. It was green and blue and glowing, and that's one of my favorite illustrations ever. I don't know if you have noticed, but when I'm drawing the tails, I got the perspective wrong, and then I fortunately noticed my mistake and draw it again. I like swirly, spiraling things. I'm especially proud of this throne. It's not as grand and dark as it should be, but it's definitely my favorite part of this illustration. Okay, I had to speed up the video here, not that I'm adding details, and I also had to cut the boring stuff. I like adding textures and hand-painted details like freckles and decorations. That dress, I had a lot of fun painting it. This is when you see me using Photoshop functions a bit more, and like that glow on those dots of light. I also add stars in the background, but you won't see me adding that purple sky you see in the final. That will come in a second moment, and it's a texture from Era 7. I have permission to use it because I bought the pack, but I must mention her work because I love it. I loved working on that floor. At first I wanted it to be a sort of dark lake beneath them with a reflection, but then I went for this kind of black sky where stars are zooming out of Fairy's dress. This show wasn't planned, but I'm glad it's there because I really like it. It was my only real chance to add lots of textures to create an interesting fabric. As I'm adding the crown, for less than a second you get a glimpse of doodles, and those doodles I made them when I finished Acotar a couple of years ago, or maybe 3, because I started sketching characters with the first book. I don't remember. Anyway, I was looking at this sketch of Feyre made, and she has a crown I designed, and I wanted to use it in this illustration as well. And you can find these doodles, by the way. I posted them on Instagram a long time ago. This is the end of the video, my second narrated video. I'm sure you guys are overwhelmed with information, not useful information but just information. But if you found this helpful or entertaining, please do let me know so I may start making others. This said, thanks so much for watching and peace out everyone.